Hi, I'm Alex Joyner, and this is the Midweek Update for Wednesday, July the 27th, 2022 for First United Methodist Church and Hinton Avenue United Methodist Church. And t-shirts is what we want to start with today. Just this Sunday, we started offering a new t-shirt with our slogan, Love the Whole City, Love the City Whole, starting right here. And it comes in basic white, but Joey Clark, our church administrator.
Hi.
Tell us how we can make it vibrant.
Well, my daughter and I, we decided to tie-dye them. Very simple. I watched several Google videos, YouTube videos, and there's several ways that you can tie-dye, and it's very, very simple. So what we did here was just a classic, I got the shirt completely wet, and we rubber banded it up, and then we just used tie-dye and put it where she wanted it. She wanted it very yellowish, and then we just wrang it out and put it out in the sun to dry. You can twist your shirts in different patterns. You can make circles. You can do worm-like everything. Very easy. I'd be glad to teach or show anyone, and possibly we can have like a little craft day or something, and we can all get together maybe in the fellowship hall and tie-dye our shirts.
So you can get your shirt on a Sunday morning. They're $12 is what we're suggesting, and we're going to have one run. If we run out, we'll order some more. But look for yours soon, and look for the tie-dye session soon. So did you know that some of the top 5 life concerns in the Belmont neighborhood are the ongoing impact of COVID-19, social and political tensions, racism and racial injustice, financing the future, and health crises and illness? This is just some of the insight from a report that's available to us as Virginia United Methodists through the Ministry Insight Program. They take information from surveys and census to tell us a little bit about our neighborhood. That's one of the things that our transition team has been looking at as we look towards the next step, not only for Hinton Avenue's congregation, which, by the way, is where I am at the moment, but also for First Church. We've got some great folks working with this transition team. So from Hinton Avenue, it's Gary Bibb, Ed Denham, Alyssa Marlowe, and Francis Marshall. And on the First Church side, Jim Berlin, Paige Lindblom, George Batten, and Gary Jones. And they have volunteered to work for the next few months to help assemble a whole bunch of information, not only looking at reports like this, but also developing an asset map of all the resources that we have, and also a survey of congregational skills and talents. So you will see a link to that survey in the midweek update today, and I hope that you'll take just a couple of minutes, that's all it takes, to share your particular interests, passions, gifts, and skills. As we try to see where this mission that we're going on together will take us next. And if filling it out online feels like an impossible thing, I know sometimes it's intimidating to do it that way. We're going to have some people available on August the 7th in order to help you do it in person. So if the interface is the problem, don't let that be a problem. Also, we hope to get you an email in the next week too to let you know about that. Finally, I just want to say a word about our Whole City podcast. About once a month, I've been doing conversations with people, and they're usually pretty Charlottesville oriented. But we have a new one that's out, and it is with Kimberly Johnson, who is a poet that we looked at one of her poems recently at a Taco Tuesday conversation. I hope that it's interesting to you, and hope you take a minute just to, right after this, I've got a brief segment where at the introduction of that podcast, where you could get to see Kimberly herself and to hear that conversation. Hope that you're doing well. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Our next service is 10 o'clock on Sunday morning at the Sanctuary of First United Methodist. God bless. See you soon.
Well, I'm here with Kimberly Johnson, who is a poet based in Utah and is the author of a new collection of poems with the title Fatal, and author of several other collections of works before that, and also the editor of an anthology of devotional poetry called Before the Door of God, which, ought to be a basic textbook for anybody. I think it's just a fantastic collection. So I've spent I met you, Kimberly, at the Festival of Faith and Writing, probably 2014 or somewhere when you were there with Mary Sivist, and have picked up A Metaphorical God, one of your previous collections there, and just been trying to read you a lot through the years, and just feel like you've got a great sense of a lot of things, the wildness, the divine, transcendence, so I'm really pleased to be able to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words, and I also am glad to have found, writing is in some ways such a monkish activity that it's always a satisfying surprise to discover that something that you have produced resonates outside your own brain pan.
All right. Well, yeah, those words actually do get read by somebody out there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is. So how did you become a poet? What's that story like?
That's a good question. I was always interested in language, but I found myself drawn more to to technical exploration when I was younger. I majored in biology in college, and I fully intended to become a cardiac surgeon. I liked looking inside things to see how they worked.
Wow.
When I was a kid, I had a hobby of taking apart stereos and then trying to put them back together again to figure out how all those wires and small transistors inside operated. And I think that I brought the same disposition to my relationship with language. And toward the end of my time in college, I was fortunate to make the acquaintance of a poet who would become my first mentor, Mark Strand. And he helped me to understand that you could pursue that same kind of urge with language. And so I guess that I think of writing poetry in many respects as similar to popping the hood on a car and rummaging around down in its engine to see how all the pieces interact with one another, how they produce the outcome of the car moving. So I guess that my path to being a poet was that I was first really interested in the gears of things.
And you find it to be much more lucrative than a cardiac surgeon too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's working really well for me.
Well, I see that in your work. I mean, you are a keen observer and trying to pick apart things, and you obviously got an interest in botany too, because I keep I keep Google busy, or a dictionary busy, just looking up the different plants and things that you mentioned in the poems.
Oh, I'm so glad.
When I'm reading. Yeah.
I try to be there's a bit of the natural historian, I suppose, in me wanting to go around and label all the things that I'm observing.
Yeah. And you find the resonance in all of them too. I one of my favorite poems is, I learned about fireweed from you. I mean, I'd heard of fireweed before, but never really thought about it or anything. But you have the poem Ash Garden in that Metaphorical God collection, which I use on Ash Wednesday now all the time, because it's such a great introduction to the season of Lent. But just the whole idea of a plant that thrives on disturbed earth and burnt over earth.
Yeah. Well, I'm simply delighted, though not surprised, that you would have been alert to the kind of what should we call it, the Lenten structure of A Metaphorical God.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that at that session I was with you, when I was with you at the Festival of Faith and Writing.
Oh, okay.
And I think we had just gotten out of Lent then, so I had a chance to read it before the next year and use it. But that the poem Ash Garden ends with, it's about you using a blowtorch instead of taking care of the lawn to get rid of all the green. And you say, let it learn in sackcloth colors to thrive on desire alone. it's a discipline I'm ripe to teach. I excel at fasting. And I thought, yeah, that's a great introduction to Lent and a season of, looking in the desert for the signs of life.
As a dweller in the desert, I would say that Lent is probably my favorite season because of the ways that it validates or even valorizes the austerity of the landscape.